What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Noble Man Podcast. We're happy to be celebrating 20 years here at Noble Warriors. My name is Caleb Eckert. I'm going to be the host of this episode here. Mike he's on vacation. And so naturally, when he's on vacation, the kids get to have a little bit of fun. So we're going to hear from everyone but Mike today from the Young family. And so why don't we go around, everybody introduce yourself. We'll go oldest to youngest and just say your name and we'll start there.
Hey, I am the oldest young child. My name is Tim. I am 29 years old, currently working in the U.S. Army, and excited to be here today.
Second in line here, I am Zachary Young, and also working at the U.S. Army, currently down in Savannah right now. So excited to be on.
All right, this is the toughest Young signing in here. I'm the third. This is Ben. So I'm in Raleigh, working down here at the church that I'm going to.
I'm Hannah. I'm the youngest Young. I'm 20, and I am currently going into my senior year of nursing school.
Well, we're all here. We're all around the proverbial family dinner table, and we're talking about what has it been like growing up young? What has it been like growing up around Noble Warriors? I'm Caleb Eckert. I'm the only non-young here, and I'm just a next door neighbor, and I've been around for long enough to be excited about this anniversary. So, guys, I want to just softball question here, starting off. How would each of you describe what it was like growing up in the Young house with Noble Warriors mixed in to the equation?
All right, I can kind of jump off with this. Growing up in the Young house with the start of Noble Warriors. Noble Warriors started back when I was about 9 years old. Has been fun, a little bit chaotic, and it's been an adventure. Ever since we started 20 years ago, it's been a thrill to watch, not just our dad, but our mom and dad work together as a couple, and then ultimately us as a family as well. Just join in this mission of loving on, encouraging men, and doing so through the local church.
Excellent. Well, Tim wasn't the only one that grew up in the house. What's going on here?
Yeah, I think jumping in number two here, growing up in the Young house, I think Tim kind of hit it on the head, chaotic. I remember one of the quotes my mama likes to say about growing up is that she was growing boys, not grass, growing children, not grass. And so there were constant, throughout the neighborhood, there were constant football games, basketball games in the front yard, lots of work going on between school, all the different activities that were happening. Things were chaotic. But amidst all of that, there was a very loving and tight family bond that existed. I think one of the primary things that held all of us together foundationally as a family was the foundation of a family dinner time. And so growing up in the Young house, I think with Noble Warriors in the mix, you start throwing that in the equation. And the way things were grounded, the way things became non-chaotic was the grounding of family dinner time. And that truly is the essence, I think, of what growing up in the Young house was a table full of food, people, and stories getting thrown all around, different lessons, but all being intentionally driven and kind of guided by both mom and dad. And that truly is the essence of what it was to grow up in our household.
I would say adventurous. It was watching our parents lead a life of faith and trusting the Lord to provide for our household, and watching successes and watching failures, and it was, in a lot of ways, the life of living under disciples of Christ. And so our dad's and our mom's work was not, they didn't say it any different than they lived it. And so Noble Warriors is an offspring of how Dad chose to invest in us, and that came first. not the ministry. And I think that was evident in our lives. And it was a joy to do things with him. We got invited to do things with him all the time. But it was still family before that work, at least in my mind. So,
Hannah, what's been your experience?
Well, I'm 20. Noble Warriors is 20. So mom and dad being in Noble Warriors is all that I've ever known and all that I've grown up with. So I think it took me a little longer to realize that Noble Warriors was more than just dad's job. Like, it was a higher calling. It was a calling and a ministry. So for me, that took, like, I didn't really understand that when it first started and growing up. So I got to learn how that was a ministry, and it was mom and dad's livelihood, but also a ministry outreach. And so just taught me a lot about prioritizing family and ministry and how to balance that, because both are important. But like Ben said, mom and dad would always prioritize the discipleship of their children, even with ministry in the background, ministry in their minds.
Yeah. And I love what you said about you had the opportunity to watch your dad faithfully live out the calling that Jesus had put on his life in order to, to see men reached and see men challenged to lead their family. And that's something that I think the Lord specifically gave to your dad to as a burden and a passion for his heart. And the beauty in all of this is that God calls imperfect people to accomplish his mission, and that we have the opportunity to be a part of that. And we all kind of have our own little quirks, our weird things that we do. So what are some things that the listeners might not know, but when you think about Mike Young, what's the most classic Mike Young moment in your mind that just, it makes you laugh, it makes you shake your head? Maybe you're shaking your head at him. Maybe you're shaking your head at yourself. I don't know. I've been on both ends of that with you guys. So what do you guys think there?
I think I can jump in and start on this one. When I think there's so many defining moments, I think you could say is the iconic Mike Young move or even memory. But one of them sticks out from a very young age that just defines almost perfectly who our dad is, and so that kind of starts where growing up we did a lot of camping, and I remember at a very early age sleeping in tents a lot. I remember my dad cooking around the campfire a lot. I remember it being sort of a vacation for my mama, getting to enjoy dad doing all the cooking and taking care of kids and whatnot. Well, at campsites that we would travel around to, I don't know if I remember this part of it correctly, but there seemed to have always been a yellow school bus that followed us around for at least a few of those campsites. And dad being dad, this is the iconic Mike Young thing, walks up to this yellow school bus that's in a campground, introduces himself, and winds up striking a conversation with a couple of, it's a couple that is they're performing a ministry. They own a ministry where they go to campgrounds, camp on the weekends, and hand out free grilled cheeses and just do ministry right there in the campground. And so they called it the Yellow Cheese Wagon. Or at least I think that's what I remember it. And so I just remember Dad going up, striking up conversation, winding up finding a person of peace that he is able to have a conversation to be encouraged by. And I think that kind of sets a precedence for Dad did a really good job of coming back and talking through, hey, how does ministry look like and what you're called to? It's not a set way of doing business. You know, God calls us all to very individual things and calls us to be lights in the communities and the spheres of influence we have. And for this couple, it just so happened to be a yellow school bus that they drove around to campgrounds and gave out grilled cheeses to have gospel conversations. And my dad was able to find these individuals while camping and steer his family towards conversations of faith, while also getting to share one of his other great passions, which is the outdoors. So
I'll piggyback off of that, Zach. similar story just recently. Dad always strikes up a conversation with anyone. And so I guess freshman year, we were in the dining hall at my college, just eating together because it's a buffet and Dad loves that. So that was right up his alley. So we were there, and I guess it was two guys who were at in the lunch area, had on shirts. They were HVAC workers, but their shirt on the back had a Bible verse on it. And so in the middle of the mess hall, whatever, Dad walks over to him, starts a conversation with them. It's like, hey, I noticed the verse on the back of your shirt and that you do HVAC. Tell me about how you got here and how you're living out your faith while doing it. And so that is a common occurrence, Dad just striking up a conversation with anyone. And it is a little bit embarrassing, but it's a freshman in college, your dad just walking up to these random guys. But, he had a great time talking with those guys, probably gave him his business card because that's a classic move. But he is always striking up a conversation with anyone that he can to try and encourage them in their walk and where they are and just learn about their story in that way.
Very cool. Very cool.
A moment that comes to mind for me, and I'm glad that we've hit on the fact that Dad will jump at almost any opportunity to be able to encourage guys, speak to them. But one that jumps out to me specifically is I remember a time when it might have been a couple of us were riding in a car with him coming back from CC's Pizza, or it was somewhere in a shopping center, and Dad drove the car right past father and son who were sitting on the edge of a big construction site watching all the big trucks, and he was so excited to see this father and son spending time together that he pulled over and just talked to the guy, encouraged him. And we were only about 5 minutes from the office, so he said, if you'll stay right here, I got a couple resources and stuff I want to give you, but I can tell you really are putting in a lot of effort as a father, and I really want to encourage you and bless you. So I remember him driving, grabbing those resources, coming back, and just shaking the guy's hand and telling him how much that encouraged him. So Dad's always been a cheerleader for other guys wherever they are, and it's nothing for him to stop on a daily basis and encourage other people like that.
I can give a different example that's more. Well, this is also something Dad always does. I'm surprised nobody has mentioned this. Of course, y'all are making him look so nice and kind. But Dad is known by all who have known him at a young age for getting down on one knee, and Caleb knows exactly what.
Yes, dude, come on. Finally, I was wondering how long it was going to take to get that. Oh, yes.
I mean,
so good.
It didn't matter whose kid it was that was in trouble or doing trouble. Dad would call him over, get hold of him, and he would always get down on one knee. And he'd say, I'm going to get eye level with you so you can look me right in the eyes, son. And then he would say whatever it is he wanted to say. It would put the fear of the Lord in you, and that was usually enough to put you straight for a while. So that is something that Dad is known by, at least for people that were young growing up around him. They knew that everybody's got a story about him getting down on one knee with him. So he got down on several knees while I was growing up, but he's the better for it.
Yeah, you were lucky if it was just down on one knee is what you got. I've been on the receiving end of those, and I've also seen those given halfway around the world to people, and I just feel for sympathy for them. I'm like, wow, yep, everybody's got their time, and this time is yours, pal. And so, man, that's awesome. Are there any routines that your dad that stick out in your mind growing up? You always saw him do this, just personally, maybe not ministry related, but just daily life as he went about life. He was doing these things.
Well, as Tim is there reconnecting, it looked like his mic was getting ready to cue, but jumping in, I think I speak probably for all of us when I say the thing that we catch our dad doing the most is spending time with the Lord. And that is almost always early in the morning, and sometimes late at night, but late at night mostly with a book or some sort of other resource. But we all have memories of waking up early, coming downstairs, and there being one light on in the house, and it's the lamp right next to Dad's chair. And so when you talk about the routines of life amidst all of the craziness that exists with raising active children and being active both at work yourself and church yourself, like Mom and Dad were, the one routine that grounded Dad was his commitment to spending time with the Lord, and we would just constantly catch him in quiet time, in prayer, and reading the Word. And I think the other routine that stayed true throughout our lives and continues to be true is the importance of family dinner time. And so those two things, the start of his day and dare you say the end of his work day, were very grounded. And that allowed for the freedom of maneuver in between, the white space in between.
Hey,
Yeah, that's so good. Go ahead. Go ahead, Tim.
Oh, sorry. Hey, I was going to say absolutely. Oh,
That brother ain't got no Wi-Fi.
is it working?
He has zero Wi-Fi. Out of all the places, this man went to the garage, which is, if I was looking to get some more Wi-Fi, that'd be the number one place I searched for it. And there's everything in that garage but Wi-Fi, Timothy. Please come back to the land of the living with the Wi-Fi.
All right. Am I good?
You're decent.
Oh, man. Okay. Well, now I'm locked out. He's gonna have to cut this. Oh, hold on 1 second.
It's going so well. It's going
Wi-Fi
it's
is
going about as I
here.
expected this to go. This is exciting.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me.
What in the world?
Hannah's giving the play-by-play.
All right.
There we go. Tim is going to sit in the chair that was
I'm going to try here.
henceforth
You've been
spoken
unmuted
of.
the whole time.
Is it working now?
Yeah, it's working.
Sure.
Goodness, Greg, leave this in for the video listeners. Leave it all in for them. Let them see the whole detail.
All right. Hey, I was going to add one more thing on that. I absolutely agree. The routine that I think about most is waking up to Dad with his Bible in his chair. But he had another routine that he usually finished the day with, and that was falling asleep on the sofa or couch or wherever he's sitting. So it's important to mention that one as well.
Yes. Oh, that's so good. That is so good. So it takes two to tango. It takes two to do a lot of things in life. Right now, I'm church planting, and I couldn't imagine doing it without Braylee, my wife. And so I think of the number of times that I have been in distress or wanted to quit, and she has talked me off the ledge, so to speak. And so likewise, Stacy has been there every step of the way. It's not like Mike was just off doing his own thing, but Stacy was there having her hands in ministry, but also helping raise a family as well. So what role did you see your mom play in Noble Warriors, and how did that all fit together in the family dynamic?
With growing up, with all of the emphasis, I feel like my whole life the emphasis has been on men's ministry. It is very cool to see biblical womanhood from my mom, the wife of the men's minister. And so I feel like I've just learned that by mom's obedience and submission a lot of times, I feel like is a huge part of that. Just trusting Dad's leadership, trusting Dad's relationship with the Lord, to follow him in times that were hard, in times that weren't comfortable for our family by any means, weren't comfortable for her. Mom has such an accounting brain, and she jokes about that a lot because Noble Warriors, accounting for Noble Warriors is a hard job, not very fun if you're into the numbers. So learning to watch Mom be okay with trusting Dad and trusting where the Lord is telling them to go. So I think that is the biggest thing I've learned from Mom in that is how to submit faithfully and not without her own faith. Like, that's not totally dependent on Dad, but how to trust in the Lord herself and get that from Dad too.
Awesome. Ben, do you have, I want you to add into this. I would say a title for you is also the most stubborn young of the bunch. And I feel like sometimes if there was an argument in the household between the kids, it was
I was
typically
winning it.
because you were I was going to say you were instigating it, but sure, if that's the word you want to use, we can use that word. We'll have Greg edit that out and put whatever word in there he wants to use in there. So,
That's true, though, Caleb. You're very accurate in that statement. I guess I'm a lot like my mother, and so we butt heads a lot growing up. And some of you listening, you like me, all of the buttons of your mom or your dad, and that was me. And I was able to just push all of them, and I could just plan when I was going to push which button, and I could just go. Huh? Hey, you unmuted. But so there was definitely times of tension just growing up. I always tell people when mom and dad are giving parenting advice, I tell them the only reason they have good advice is because they raised me and they got to deal with somebody real trifling that gave them a different outlet. But there were times Mama would send me to the neighbor. Mama would send me over to the neighbor because she said, if that child spends one more hour in this house, he ain't going to be brave. So, metaphorically, but so I'd go hang out with a neighbor, go grocery shop with the neighbor. But Mom was persistent in loving me through my stubbornness, and she was constant to raise me and teach me who Jesus was, and even in the way that she disciplined me was as Christ-centering as she knew how. She would make me write out different scriptures and memorize different things with regard to my tongue and how I would use the flame that the Lord has put inside of us. So. I think of the way that she mothered and parented me, saw her faithfulness to our family.
now it's been 20 years of roller coaster in church planting in any ministry. There are ups and there are downs, and sometimes the highs are really high and the lows are really low. What do you think has been the hardest part growing up in kind of in that ministry atmosphere where things maybe weren't always sunshine and rainbows? When people would go to, say, a Noble Man conference, I would say that's a mountaintop experience where all of a year-long's work kind of culminates into that moment, and that's like a celebration moment. But throughout the year, maybe it's not always kind of that mountaintop experience. What has it been like growing up in kind of that environment? Tim, what would you say about that? I mean, you probably have the most, I guess, detailed memories of the early days of Noble Warriors.
Yeah, no, Caleb, that's a good question. I would say the hardest parts have kind of changed throughout the 20 years of the ministry. Initially, the hardest parts, I think, focused a lot around how do we start? How do we do this? How do we come up with funding? How do we find a building? How do we figure out some just basic life stuff that you need to have any organization going? And so I remember when Dad started off working part-time, when he was working out of an office that was connected to the construction business he was working in at the time, and how eventually it shifted over to the office they're at today. We were talking recently with Dad and talking about how when he first signed the lease, he just signed for a year, didn't want to sign for any more than that because they weren't sure if the ministry was still going to be around or what it would look like. And so I think, the hard parts have changed. Used to be a lot of questions that dealt with day-to-day stuff. And, we've shifted into to seasons where, okay, how do we strategically engage men beyond just Chesterfield? How do we strategically engage men in Richmond? How do we strategically engage men across the nation? And hard parts now even look like these big pushes for the conference season. I mean, you're very right. It's a mountaintop experience, but I think one of the first things that Mommy and Dad will both tell you is that conference season is very difficult. There's a lot of variables. There's a lot of things that have to come together in order to provide those sorts of experiences. And then they're balancing in all that now, other family events, us having big life events of our own, promotions, getting married for Ben recently, having kids, grandkids' birthdays. And so now a lot of the hard parts look like, okay, how do we continue to push through some of these seasons that require a lot?
Zach, what about you?
Thoughts on that same question?
Yeah, thoughts on that same question. What do you think has been like the hardest part about growing up in a ministry family?
Growing up in a ministry family versus what was hard about the ministry at the time, I think can be different things. But at times were probably similar. The finances that Tim hit on in the beginning, I remember being very challenging. I remember Hannah alluded to the fact that my mama is she graduated as an accountant, and so numbers are very black and white for her. And so the family finances of going from a full-time paycheck guaranteed to living faithfully on the donations of people is just challenging. Starting that from scratch is challenging. I don't know that I remember explicitly, but I remember the stories that my dad tells of going out on a date with Mama and them buying a book called Nonprofit for Dummies on just how to start a 501c3 and beginning beginning that journey and kind of standing it up from the ground. And so what's challenging about that, I think, is the attention that it requires. I think most children of family members that are in some sort of a clergy role or ministry role would tell you that their parents' attention is somewhat split. And I don't mean that in a negative way in any way, shape, or form, but the importance of the work that God has called Mom and Dad to begs his full attention so that he can continue to minister passionately to the churches and the men that he is around. But then also there is a responsibility that God has placed upon fathers and mothers to be parents to their first disciples. And so I think the challenge there is how do you intentionally work while you're at work and give your all there and honor the Lord? And then also, how do you intentionally parent your children? And so I think that's actually one of the things, one of your later questions, Caleb, you asked us, at least in the read ahead here, is what's a word that you would use to describe your dad? And without fail, when I'm describing my father to other people, I say that he is the most intentional person I have ever interacted with. And I think that remains true amidst the caliber of individuals I continue to interact with. Dad remains one of the most intentional people. And I think that is enabled by my mother's intentionality to support and love our family well. And so while attention is required to minister well and to shepherd the souls of those that are around them differently than a pastor is called to, because this is a parachurch organization. But there's still a weightiness there. So in the fact that mom and daddy both being intentional to be able to invest in both their work and at home is challenging. And it made for a lot of long nights. The finances piece in particular also made for a lot of long nights just with working on broken trucks. But that was a another passion that God allows things to fail. I think that He allows things to fail in our life that you are capable of handling. And so one of those was mechanical issues. And so it brought us close together as a family while it was also a challenger and complicator.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Hannah, I thought you were winding up for an awesome answer, and it was just a wind up for a yawn. But nevertheless, I'm going to throw it to you here. What do you think have been some of the difficulties or the challenges growing up in a family of ministry? It's all you've ever known. Did you ever feel like you were missing out on a certain life that maybe the rest of your friends had or anything like that? Or do you think maybe you came out on top, you got a cooler experience, a cooler childhood because of that?
Oh, wow. I think in the midst of growing up, it was easy to look at my friends and see different things they got to do in the sense of stuff, like, toys they had, vacations they went on. So it was easy to look at that. And then all the on-brand, we always joke about on-brand stuff, on-brand cereal, because we always get off-brand. Which as a kid, I'm like, okay, why does everyone else get on-brand and we're the only people with off-brand? We must be really poor. But then now being an adult and going to the grocery store, I'm like, well, we're just smarter. And I think with growing up, I see how much of a blessing it was to see the finances mom and dad went through and see how they would talk about money in front of us sometimes. And how to learn to be faithful with what you have. Like, learn how to tithe your money even when you don't have a lot. Learn how to give your time, talents, and treasures even when you feel like it's not a lot that you have to give. That really does make an impact. And so I think with seeing mom and dad struggle as a kid, what I didn't really see as a big deal because mom and dad didn't make it a big deal, at least that I saw, which again, I was young and still don't understand, but they were just never would freak out on us or throw us to the wolves, like they always had a plan, or they would always make it a point to just trust God and help us to know that that was okay to do. Like, it's okay to not know what's coming next, but that the Lord will provide because He always has. So, like, a heart of remembrance is, I feel like, is always easy to forget and needed reminders of, but that God is good and faithful through everything, and He always has been, so He will continue to be. So that's a huge advantage that we've all gotten in our childhood that a lot of people don't get because it's easy to depend on these other things. But we got to depend on the Lord more so, I feel like, than some other families.
Yeah, that gratitude and that thankfulness, it kind of permeated the family in terms of God has taken care of us and we have much to be thankful for. And Hannah, you joking about having the off-brand cereal, and now you're doing the adulting thing, realizing real cereal is expensive. And I'm reminded one moment that sticks out in my mind that was significant for me, and it's a life lesson I've taken with me, was on that topic of gratitude and depending on the Lord. Was Zach, I think you had gotten home from cross-country practice, and you had said something to the effect of there's no food in this house. And I remember your dad, he grabbed you by the shoulder and he walked you over to the refrigerator and opened it. He said, "There's food in here." And he walked you over to the pantry and said, "There's food in here. Looks like we've been taken care of." And it just I don't know, that moment just kind of lives in my mind as I remember the Lord has taken care of us like so well. He's given us far more than we could ever ask or imagine, and that's a powerful, powerful thing. And I think what's beautiful is that although you guys are, you're the kids of the ministry, you haven't just been separated from. It's not like the ministry is over here. It's very much so in the home, but all of you are, I guess, the beneficiaries of this ministry. So what do you think, and how has the ministry of Noble Warriors personally shaped either your personal faith or your life as a whole, your view as God? How has it shaped your thinking in that way? Ben, what do you think here? You started a new role at Providence, so we'll go true theologian for real.
No. I ain't going technical here. It's a good question. Gosh. I mean, I feel like my answer is going to be similar to things that we went over before, but I always tell people I think one of the greatest impacts, I say two things. One is prayer, the prayer that we were covered in by our family and then by so many people. It was insane. We could show up somewhere at a conference or something, or even someone Zach and I would be working for, and they would just pull out an old newsletter and point at our photo and say, I've been praying for you. And we would have no idea who they were sometimes. And that is unique that a lot of kids do not have growing up, and nothing we did to earn that or deserve it. And then the other thing is just watching our parents live a life of faith. And that has shaped all of us. I would say none of us are overly anxious about finances because we've seen the Lord provide for our family in certain moments. And and then a classic dad phrase we didn't mention before sounds like a men's discipleship problem. And so that is integrated into all of our lives and our minds when we hear something. For me, the first place I go is, oh, that's a men's discipleship problem. It could have nothing to do with that, and I could draw you a mind map back to men's discipleship and prove to you that this really is a men's discipleship problem. So I think that is probably a lasting mark for me, and even in the ministry world of looking at different issues and thinking, okay, this is a lack of men's discipleship. So,
Tim, what about you? How have you seen your personal faith shaped through the ministry of Noble Warriors?
I want to take a little bit of a different spin on this here, Caleb.
Take it, spin it.
So
you've got the highest rank here. You can do whatever you want.
So,
well, I'm not so sure that's true.
Man, I think about, okay, so how did Noble Warriors ultimately affect my faith, my leadership, now my own fatherhood and ability to be a husband? And immediately, I think early on, I would want to point to, oh man, there were so many seminars I got to sit in on, so many books I got to read or hear from the speaker on, so many different unique opportunities to interact with high caliber men's ministry guys. But that is not the thing that has had the greatest effect on my faith or fatherhood or, being a husband within my marriage. Ultimately, I would say that it is my dad. Going back to what Ben said earlier, he put his faith even before the ministry, and I have no doubt that my dad's interaction with other men, his intentional conversations with others, not even at a high academic level. I'm talking just living out his faith week to week, going to church, interacting with other men. When I look at what has had the biggest impact on my faith and who I am as a man, as a father, it is my father. And I don't want to confuse that with the ministry. And I love the ministry. I love everything it does. But I love how my father through the process has grown, and that has had the biggest effect on me. I love my dad as the director, leader of CEO of Noble Warriors, whatever title that may be. But I love him way more as my dad, and I've learned way more through that. And that is what has shaped me tremendously. That would be my answer.
That's good. So good. Well, Hannah, you're in school, you're studying, you're learning lots. You have the opportunity to learn really good information and then apply that in a practical, hands-on nursing kind of situation. If that's the right title. If that's not the right title, I apologize. But you get a lot of hands-on experience. And so what would you say is something that you've just growing up in connection with this ministry and the family you've grown up on? What's one practical lesson that you either could have learned it yesterday or you learned it when you were 7 and you still find yourself practically applying that in your daily life as you go through school, as you go through your job? What would you say is one of those lessons that has stuck with you the most?
Can I say a recent one?
Go for it. Fire away.
All right. So my job for this summer has been working in the mother infant unit. So where moms and babies go 2 hours after they've delivered. And so my job is just to help them on their way home, assess baby, assess mom, make sure they're all good to go home. And one of the things that I know Tim has talked about, Dad's talked about, even my grandparents, is how men have a hard time knowing where to belong with the baby, knowing how to change a diaper, because I feel like as women, and I've grown up babysitting, that's comes more naturally for the women to do that. So one of my favorite things since being in this job is to just call Dad over and be like, hey, Dad, do you want to learn how to change a diaper? Or, hey, I'm going to teach you how to swaddle. Hey, do you want to learn how to do this for Mom that will really help her pain and stuff? And so I guess it all comes back to men's discipleship, because if the dads and fathers know how to care for their babies and their wives, then they're going to feel loved and they're going to feel safe in that environment. And so that's something that has been really fun is, teaching dads how to swaddle and giving them confidence. They're like, oh, I don't want to hold the baby yet. They're too fragile. And I'm just take the baby and put them in their arms. You've got it, you can do it. And so just building that confidence in them now so that when they go home, they're not afraid to pick up the baby, change the diaper, let Mom rest, So I would say that's something. I knew the impact of men and I know how important that is, but in my job that I got this summer is how I've learned to apply that in a way that's, I feel like, helpful for the moms, helpful for the babies, and then also encouraging for Dad because he gets to have a part in this whole situation, whole environment that he's not super in touch with, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So you get a kind of a hands-on experience in terms of helping, helping these young fathers learning how to reject being passive and accept responsibility as it pertains to their newborn child. So even that is a men's discipleship opportunity. And Zach, you get to see a whole lot of those working in the military. What's a lesson that you've learned either recently or early on that you find yourself even applying that in your military career today?
It's funny. This morning, I meet on Tuesday mornings with an older gentleman who disciples me, and there's two other guys about my age that we meet with, and one of the things we were talking about was how in really all things and all issues, the military is a microcosm of the culture and of society today. So the things that Tim and I see in the military exist all over corporate America, all over our society. Some of them are certainly heightened, but I would say one of the lessons that I have learned and continued to carry with me, and continue to see the importance of more and more, is men and other friends in my life that I can turn to in times of trouble, in times of need, that I can trust to offer me good wisdom, good advice, counsel, accountability, and I think that's a precedent. So that's a routine. One of the things we forgot to mention in the routines we talked about earlier, what we saw Dad do. He's been meeting faithfully with other men for, I think, over 25 years at this point, maybe longer than that. At Panera at 6 o'clock on Friday mornings, when I come home, I go sometimes because it's just a standard. It's going to happen, and that watching the importance of that. And how impactful that was on my dad's life amidst trials, tribulations, good times, bad times in his life, in the lives of the men he met with. It was just grounding, and it's a safe place. It's a foundational place where you can talk openly and be free to hold each other accountable, to be encouraged and to encourage. And as I continue to walk through challenges in military life and regular life, all things that come with both sides of that equation, and leadership and followership, I find that the importance of having other people around me that are going to hold me accountable weekly, that even in the highs, they get to ask me hard questions. In the lows, they really get to ask me hard questions, is important. And that's an avenue where I get to vent about issues. On the drive home, I called one of them today after a hard day at work, where I was just frustrated, and was able to get some things off my chest and have them turn around, pray for me, and pray for the people that are under my leadership and direction, because there's an acknowledgement there that, dude, I am 100% human, and I'm making mistakes all over the place. So, trying to figure out how to continue to make ourselves better by submitting before the cross. And that lesson is to surround yourself with other faithful believers who are going to help you walk to the cross.
Tim, you have raised your hand.
Yes, I've got another lesson that I've learned that I think is important to share as well, that I've seen throughout time. And that lesson is that people will do almost anything for free food. True in ministry, true in the military, true in life. At any Noble Warriors event over the past 20 years, there has been a snack room for volunteers. And I think that a lot of people come to volunteer because they love the ministry, they love the Lord, they love what's going on. But I know a lot of those people are there because they love chicken salad, and they love the abundance of food that is in that snack room. So it's a strategy that I've taken into my own work in providing free food. And it's amazing the people that will show up and the amount of work you'll get done if you do that. So just know that free food is also a part of the Noble Warriors story, and will be continually as it grows for the next 20 years as well.
Oh, so good. That is so good. That's a fact too. It is a tactic that I have seen your dad use time and time again. And I use it in church planting a bunch now. And Hannah, even though the cereal is off brand, praise the Lord, Grandma's barbecue does not need any kind of brand on the box. That stuff is just good. So,
amen.
We'll do an altar call after this. So if you could say anything now, Noble Warriors is obviously focused on helping churches disciple men, helping men take ownership in their family so they can lead their family well, serve their church well, and lead a life that is leading. But that doesn't just happen. We've talked a lot about about your dad. We've talked a lot about your mom, and that is crucial. But it also there's been so many people that have pitched in and that have made this happen, not because they were in it for the money, but because they were in it for the mission, and they believed in the calling that God had placed on your dad and your mom's life, but also on the mission. They believed in the mission of Noble Warriors because they believed, as Ben has mentioned, it truly is a men's discipleship problem. If you could say, like, if you had every person that has ever lifted a thing, typed a thing, wrote a thing, gave a thing towards Noble Warriors, they're all gathered in one room, and you've got the mic. What would you say to those people?
I think what I would say is, on top of the thank yous, your investment has been tenfold, 20-fold, 50-fold, 100-fold what you could imagine. Because just as we've alluded to on here, a lot of things can come back to, hey, how are we discipling men? Men have great impact in families. Men have great impact in churches. Men have great impact in their communities. And in fact, they don't have great impact. They have the most significant impact of anyone else out there. And so thank you for those who have given, for those who have donated time, for those who have spent hours in prayer on their knees. Thank you. And please continue to join us, because this is not the stock market topping off and going into some sort of recession. If this is going to continue to multiply and increase exponentially as time goes on, and that's because men is where to invest.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think you have to you got to beat the drum of gratitude, and it's almost unfathomable. Great day, fathomable. To think through all of the challenges that God has brought Noble Warriors through in our family, and that just being that not even being the end result, but the end result being success, it being lives touched, it being souls coming to the Father for eternity. I mean, our lives are meant to exalt the King. They have an eternal purpose, and so the faithful donations of many throughout the 20 years into Noble Warriors have had a significant impact. Like Tim said, 10 and 20-fold past what you gave in your time, your talents, and your treasures. Our God has a habit of turning ones and twos into tens and 20s. In insane ways, ways that just don't make sense. And so I remember so many nights getting calls or even back at the house where mom and dad received a check in the mail when times were tough, both in the ministry and at the house, from faithful people, from anonymous donations, where God was just making the ministry happen, not because he needed dollars to line up, but because he was about impacting the souls of people around Virginia, the Eastern Seaboard, in the United States. And so that your faithful donations allow for kingdom work to be pursued in ways that other ministries are just aren't able to focus, just because of the skill sets that God has been able to bless the individuals that are around the Warriors with. And it's a blessing. I think to our family, it's a blessing to Dad, but it's also a blessing to everyone who gets to serve. And so I thank you, and absolutely can continue to join in this journey, because that's exactly what it is. It's an adventure and it's a journey.
One thing that came to mind is all of the volunteers or anybody who's ever connected with Noble Warriors will always have Noble Warriors on their mind, like having piece of gear they're wearing, sweatshirt, t-shirt, those neck gaiters Dad gave out for free. If you want one, stop by. We'll get you 12. But just the amount of times that we've seen people and they would come up to Dad and be like, hey, I had a great conversation about Noble Warriors. I sent them to your website. Noble Warriors would not be possible without all of those people pointing other people to, not to Noble Warriors, but to the importance of men and the importance of how men lead and how that is so important. Tim said the greatest impact on a family. So it comes down, it's not Mike Young's conversation. It's all of the people that are excited about Noble Warriors, that are investing in it themselves, but sharing that with other people. So that the heart of Noble Warriors is the people that it's impacted, and that's growing not because of Mike Young, but because of everyone that is intertwined with it and encouraging other people to pursue godly discipleship and men's discipleship. So thank you.
Ben, what about you, man?
To our volunteers. Yeah, I would say continue. I would say, as Tim and Zach and Hannah have said, I mean, what you've given, the Lord has used and He's multiplied in ways that you can't understand. And it's not even the gift that you've given. It's not even the talent you've given or the financial help you've given. It's the heart that you gave with. Like, that is what the Lord honors, not what you gave. And I would encourage more. Like, not just to Noble Warriors, but first to your church, first to the church that you go to. Use your talents, use your gifts. And if we are all good members of our local church, there is no need for Noble Warriors. So, sorry, Dad. Here's that's the end of Noble Warriors if we're all using our talents and gifts and working as the body should, because men are being discipled and families are being fathered well and wives are being loved well. And so I would say continue using your gifts that the Lord's given you and your talents. And I mean, all of us could tell crazy stories about how people have used their gifts for us when they've like, well, I can't give money, but I'll give you this. Like, I can help in this way, and crazy things. So that's what I would say is the Lord delights in your heart of service and your heart to give. And so continue doing that and find other ways to do that, because He'll continue to bless you in wonderful ways, in eternal ways.
So the beauty, or I guess the challenge rather, in being on another man's podcast is you know, sometimes they go long or you go long, you don't know. But we're going to give Greg plenty to work with here, ladies and gentlemen. So as far as this goes, this is going to be our last question. We're going to put a bow on it. And this is, if you could thank your mom and your dad for one thing over the course of the last 20 years, Noble Warriors related or not, what would that be? If you could thank them for just one thing. I know we could think of a very vast, long list, but we would have 20 years of podcast material to work through, and this is just the 20th anniversary episode. So give me that, and then give me your favorite quote, either from your mom or from your dad, in connection. So we'll give them a fun quote to end on, and then a thank you as well. I'll give you some time to think about it. I'll share you with one of my favorite Mike Young quotes. So he said, mainly to Ben and Zach. Oh, I mean, Tim was in here at this point too, but mostly Ben and Zach getting scrappy with it. And Mike said, if you're going to keep arguing like this, you're going to have to go out in the front yard and wrestle in your underwear, because that's how silly you look right now. That's one of my all-time favorites, and so if I just stole yours, I'm sorry. And we'll go in reverse order this time. We'll start with Hannah, and we'll work our way up. So Hannah, you have the floor. You get the first closing statement.
Oh gosh. For the thank you, I would say my dad has taught me how a man should love me, how a man should care for me, respect me. And not only has my dad shown me that, but he's raised 3 older brothers that do the same to me, treat me with respect and love, and take care of me and protect me. And so I've been surrounded by men that love well, in an honorable way. And so thank you, Dad, for teaching me how to receive that, how to look for that. And thank you for letting me be the one that got to receive that. I am the only one, the only girl that's gotten that privilege. So that is a huge privilege. And a quote, mine's not silly, it's sweet, but at, I think, a first grade daddy-daughter dance, my dad took me and we got dressed up, went to Chick-fil-A, and printed out a picture of us, and in a frame it said, "Hannah, I hope I'll always be your favorite date." So that's just something that I keep in my room. I take it with me to college, that little picture of us together. So, yeah.
Man,
That's so good. Y'all,
End it
oh,
there.
goodness
It was
gracious.
great being on here. Really appreciate you guys.
Oh my goodness. Oh, y'all are all smoked. Oh man, that's so good, dude. Oh boy.
Okay, well, I'll go next. Begin the train wreck.
It's got to start somewhere, bro. It's got to start somewhere.
I mean, all I can do is thank my parents for being intentional to disciple me and to share the grace and the love of Christ with me. So they are my primary, my first disciplers, and they are a large reason why I will spend eternity with the Lord. And I think that's the greatest gift I have to thank them for. I think we would all say the same thing. And then just thank you for being intentional and how you love and how you discipline, and how you show grace. And finally, thank you for being a friend. My parents have learned slowly how to raise kids, but then learned that when your kids get older, you're really no longer, you're not telling them what to do, you are mentoring them, and they have stepped into that role in a sweet way that I get to call my mom and my dad my friends, and that's a unique thing. So a quote, I might be stealing Zach's, but I hope not, but something Dad used to say, he started saying, was if you're going to be dumb, you better be tough. And so that's just, and we did a lot of dumb stuff. And so, you couldn't feel bad for somebody that decided to do something dumb. You just got to hope that you're being tough. So Zach and Caleb and I got into dumb stuff. And Tim as well. He spearheaded the dumb stuff with a lot of stunts that he did.
No, I just came up with the plans and watch y'all do the dumb stuff. I'll let y'all get tough.
Yeah, we appreciate it, and it shows too.
Good
It
development.
shows when you go to Starbucks who gets the pup cup and who gets the black coffee. I'm just saying.
Who's ordering soy
Hey,
milk and who's getting black coffee?
Don't be hating on my lattes over here. Don't be hating on my lattes over here.
Tim said for real that, Ben, you should just be thankful that they didn't kill you. That is really the biggest thing you should thank them for. And so with breath in his lungs, Ben says thank you and tosses it over here to Zach. Zach, what's the biggest, if you could say thank you for one lesson, what would it be, man? And what's a good quote?
Well, I think my quote goes along with the lesson. One of the Well, the quote that I heard Dad say that just kind of rings in my ears all the time is he tells stories about being on the job site and learning from an old trim carpenter that used to work for him while he was supervising houses. This guy's name was Woody, and the legend has it that Woody could make wood grow around a corner, make it look like it grew around a corner. You still to this day walk in houses that Woody trimmed out, and you can tell which parts that he trimmed and which parts that other people trimmed out. He was just that good. And Woody used to pull Dad over and tell him, hey, buddy, the job isn't finished until it looks pleasing to the eye. And so it's this idea that there is a lot of work and craftsmanship that can go into something, but the job is not finished until the paint goes on, until the caulk gets to draw up a piece of wood close to the sheetrock, until it closes up a gap. It's not complete until you cut a piece of crown mold in long and then you snap it into place. And so all of those things point to a mentality of work ethic, a hard work ethic that I think has persisted through many things in life. And so if there's one thing I can thank my parents for, it is a good work ethic, and with that, critical thinking and problem solving skills that allow you to enjoy solving problems at work because you can work hard. And I watched both my mom and my dad do that very well, and enjoy what they're doing and do it as unto the Lord. And work to this day is not something that seems as a burden. There are challenges that are hard, but the act of working itself is enjoyable because I remember my dad watching them do that well and getting to experience that. It's freeing. Like God created us to do that. And so the thing that rings out is, son, it has to be pleasing to the eye.
That's good. All right, Tim, you've had all the extra time. It won't be as good as Hannah's, but give it your best stab.
Yeah, can't top Hannah. There's a couple of things you say that's just so sweet. You're almost making me cry over here, but it's probably because I drink lattes. Anyways, my quote kind of gonna fly right in the face of what Ben said. Maybe it shows some development of Dad as a father over the years, but man, when I was about 16, finally learning how to drive. I was in the car driving with him, and man, I thought Dad and I were marching to the same beat of whatever drum was going on. And I asked him about something, and he said, "Absolutely not. I don't even remember what it was about." And I looked at him and I said, "Man, I thought we were starting to become friends." And so my quote, what I remember him saying back to me is, "Son, I ain't your friend. I'm your dad." And so I don't know what kind of friendship you guys got going on, Ben. It hasn't ever quite worked out for me that way. In all seriousness, it's been a joy to get to know Dad differently in different stages, and that does look a lot more like friendship and a lot like mentorship at this stage of life for me. And so the one thing that I would say in regards to all of that is thank you for allowing us to be able to, and I'll say specifically me, be able to kind of challenge you in different phases. While Ben can be the stubborn one, I am the highly critical one, and you have always met my criticisms, whether they are fair or not, with an open mind, and through that, I have grown so much more in my faith and in my ability to be able to look to the Lord for answers and not just blindly follow somebody. You, as a dad, would be a great person to just blindly follow, but I'm so thankful you did not teach us to blindly follow, and you taught us to critically think. And so, thank you for teaching us to think critically. Thank you for allowing us to challenge, but praying throughout that entire process, because that is ultimately what has grown our faith, and my faith specifically. So that's what I'll kind of end on. I think we're maybe friends now. Not really sure. Maybe Dad can address that in a future podcast episode.
I sure ain't
when
his friend.
friendship-
That's all I'll say. I'll leave that there.
Yeah, it'd be nice to know in a future episode what the stages of all this are. I'm still
None
confused.
of y'all, both of y'all aren't friends. Dad and I talk about that all.
Yeah.
Unless
That's why they live the furthest away, all right? That's the reason why, right there. Well,
if we got him a
man,
latte, we could soften him up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I will tell you that Mike is still the reason. Dad is still the reason that I only refer to people as sir at work, regardless of if they're enlisted or not, because I'm afraid of what will happen if I accidentally go home and call and not say sir at the end of something. So that points to the fact that we are not friends.
Yes, sir. Indeed. Well, look, guys, there's much we could say. There's much we haven't said. I'm thankful to be along for the ride for this podcast, but also for the last 20 years. It's been a blast to watch each and every one of you grow up and to grow up alongside you guys and experience all that is Noble Warriors and being a part of your family. And so with that, this concludes the 20th anniversary episode. If this is the only one, this is great. But I think this is just from our perspective. And so this is like the cue for the outro music. So Greg, if you've got some really solid outro music, just like smash it right there. Appreciate that. It'll happen in post. It's just going to be a hard cut right there.
In post. We'll do it in post.